As we've said, President-elect Donald Trump will continue to serve as an executive producer of NBC's reality show Celebrity Apprentice. Also tonight, there are signs that Trump may not bow to the growing pressure he's facing to make a clean break with his real estate company before taking office. The New York Times is reporting that Trump is considering turning over operational responsibilities to his two adult sons while keeping a stake in the business. Now, under that plan, Ivanka Trump would also take a leave of absence from the company. Sources tell CNN that both Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner, will play roles in Washington, with Ivanka acting along the lines of a surrogate first lady, Washington hostess and advisor on issues like paid family leave. Joining me tonight is Jan Barron, an ethics attorney and partner at Wiley Ryan in Washington, also biographer Michael D'Antonio, author of The Truth About Trump. Michael, first of all, what do you make of this idea that Donald Trump will remain an executive producer of Celebrity Apprentice?
Well, I was surprised when I dealt with Donald that he was proud of the money that he made there. And he gave me the figure, and I was surprised that it was so little. So maybe he needs the money. You know, this is a guy who gave up the president's salary, and he might think, well, I'm not going to give up everything. I own a piece of this show. I want to keep it.
Jan, I mean, the President of the United States having a role or financial interest in a primetime network television show, certainly unprecedented, but is there anything wrong with it from a legal perspective?
No, he can continue earning money. Of course, there's a slight precedent. I mean, Ronald Reagan continued to get royalties and residual payments for his appearances in movies that he made when he was in the entertainment business. But what's unprecedented about Donald Trump is that he has such variety and massive investments that he's accumulated over many decades, and we've never really had a president this rich with this amount of wealth invested in this type of a business.
And ongoing businesses. I mean, Michael, now they're reporting from the New York Times that Donald Trump, basically that his two adult sons may be the ones who are in operational control of the business, not Ivanka Trump, which is certainly an interesting development.
Well, it is, especially when you consider that Ivanka is probably the most valuable brand ambassador that the whole organization has. So he is giving up something there. But I think what's important to notice is that Donald Trump has never been governed by what's ethical or what's seemly or what appears as a conflict of interest. He's always been concerned about the letter of the law. So doing the right thing, as you and I might imagine it, which would involve limiting the amount of problems and potential conflicts, isn't in his mind. He's going to do what's legal, and he's going to do what he thinks is best for him. Eventually, maybe the weight of the presidency will move him to behave differently, but for now, he's true to form.
And there's no reason still to believe, Michael, that he will divest ownership of the business?
No, I don't expect that he will. I don't think that he has ever played by the rules that apply to everyone else. He's always wanted to be an exception, and he is exceptional. You know, he is a businessman of the sort we've never elected. He has holdings of the type we've never seen before, so all of this is new territory, and he's going to demand that the rules be written for him specifically.
Yeah. Jan, it's interesting because on the one hand, if Trump decides not to sell his business, there are questions, if he has the good of the country in mind, but on the other hand, if he divests, who he actually sells to, that could be a thorny issue as well. I mean, if he's selling to Saudi Arabia or some other entity.
Yeah, I think it's a huge practical problem. People talk about, well, President-elect Trump ought to just sell everything. Well, it's not like waving a magic wand. I mean, he has a great assortment of properties. He's got a slightly used golf course in Scotland that he just opened last year, and he's got a brand new hotel here in Washington, D.C. So let's say that he wanted to sell these things. Who will buy it? What price would they pay? How long would it all take? And he would have to do that theoretically dozens, if not hundreds of times. And of course, we're talking about the guy who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. I mean, he's not going to give away this stuff. He'd want to negotiate it. And And does that create problems?
And there are tax implications as well, obviously, Jan.
There are some tax implications, although there is a law that says that if somebody has to sell something because of a conflict of interest, the taxes, if there are gains, are deferred, as long as they reinvest the proceeds in mutual funds and government bonds, which of course presents an interesting question. If you sell everything and put it in a government bond, you're getting paid by the government, for Pete's sake. So, you know, there is no magic solution here, and people are talking about it, and he's struggling with this in large part because it's unprecedented. We've never had this type of situation before.
Well, there's a really interesting point to be made about the hotel in Washington. The landlord is the GSA,
right,
and the GSA forbids any person who's employed by the government from receiving, from being the other side of the contract. So he now is both the landlord and the renter of this property. Under most circumstances, the GSA would have to go someplace else.
Michael, appreciate you being on again. Jan, thanks so much for being with us.
Bet.
Coming up, President-elect Trump and the general